So is this the part where we say welcome back?
No, I think we should just keep the awkward opening that we got going on right now. That is so us.
The fact that we're on our second podcast.
What's this called again?
All right, I'll start it since your guys aren't going to do it.
You are listening to the Alpha BassCast with Jake Boomer, Brian Smith, and Beau Fletcher.
All right, so welcome back to the second Alpha BassCast with Beau, Bryant, and myself, El Prez. The last one went good enough, and enough people watched it, like 8, that makes it worth us doing it again, I think. And tonight we even have a pretty cool guest, right?
I think he's cool.
What I'm told.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't tell him to his face.
No, we got to
cool,
get all the superlatives out of the way before he gets on.
Yeah, and then when he catches
also
up
knows
with
he's cool, so it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, it's true. But there was a Shasta Derb today, so knowing that Shasta's coming and trying to stay time relevant, it only took 25 pounds to win. So
damn, really?
Yeah, 12 pounder was weighed in today.
That helped.
And I think there was at least a second bag over 20.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, that's what happens when that water comes up like that. It happened at Folsom, our home lake, which is always terrible. And I think we did a New Year's Eve turkey shoot. There was 41 boats, and I'm pretty sure 3 7-pounders got weighed in on January 1st. And this lake,
wow.
Yeah, it we were thinking 12 was going to be in the top 3. 12 didn't even get paid. We dumped our fish. We had 12 pounds. We were like, oh yeah, we're going to get a check. Top 5. No, you're not. Everything's fishing good right now in California for some reason.
Sure feels like it.
I talked to Nick Wood, and he said that the water's come up so much that where we were parking your truck when we were there in December,
it's underwater.
He ran over that at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah. We got the gap.
He goes, I blitzed right over that.
I'm pretty sure the gap's back in between the island there.
Yep.
It's a good thing.
That
means fishing's going to be good and good.
I think it is. Mm-hmm. Good fishing. Yeah, and it's getting into tournament time for Shasta where the big guys are showing up. We've got BAM in 2 weeks, which is the 20, help me out, Beau, 22nd?
I think it's...
So BAM is the 24th through the 26th.
Got one number, right?
Yes. And then yep.
And then One Bass comes right after that. I think they start on Wednesdays, right?
Yep.
Or
5th through the 7th.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
You got two back-to-backs.
Yeah. I don't know how much money Nick Wood won there last year this time of year, but it was significant.
He might add to it this year.
I think he won like 2 fills in a row. Mm-hmm. Yep. He had 2 fills. He won. I fished one of them, and then he won the wombass that was there. Yeah, he made a significant amount of cash last spring.
When did he take first place at Wild West? Wasn't that was a prime?
I think that was in December.
I don't remember.
And it was a January tournament. I fished it. It
must have been Wild West.
It was one of the January, February tournaments. Yeah, it was a Wild West.
Yeah,
22.
He's pretty good up there.
I don't know. He's decent.
Maybe, keep our fingers crossed, we'll have him on this week. That'd be cool for the next couple weeks. So, he probably doesn't want to give up too many of his spots or intricate details, but we'll price them out of him. Just kidding.
Get some stories at least.
Yeah, he's probably got some really good ones.
Hey, maybe he could show us.
I'm looking at the water level.
Show us how to, or tell us how to throw a swim bait.
So this first podcast got about 8 views. The swim bait short that we put out, I think, got like 200 views.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, everyone knows.
I spent the whole day editing that weekend that Bryant, we recorded the whole thing. We wanted to make a video out of it. I spent the whole day. By the 3rd hour into it, I was so I'm going to strangle this guy. And he's not even around. There's don't idiot. Are you idiot? So then I'm trying to get a hold of him and be like, for the podcast tonight. I'm like, hey, and he's not answering his phone. So now he's making me more pissed off. Like, I'm like, when he finally answered the phone, I like chewed him out and he's like, what's going on? I spent all day looking at video of me and you getting aggravated about, there's some good stuff on there. I don't know if some of it we can show, we get in trouble, but there's some good stuff on there. But tonight's guest is one of my favorite humans. He was my traveling co-angler after I drew him, and I don't want to talk about him too much because the stories with him involved when he gets on will be pretty cool. But the very first pro-am that I did when I decided I wanted to fish more stuff, he was one of my co-anglers, and he was what inspired me with fishing with him. Is like mega respectful, like super respectful, to the tune that I was catching. I think I caught like 16 pounds on Havasu in January or February. It was like a really good day. And it was pretty obvious what was going on. And he would not, even after I'd caught my weight, I handed him my bait and said, hey, throw this over there because I just caught a big one. I said, catch another one, and they were on beds. And he wouldn't do it. He goes, I'm not going to do that. I said, what do you mean? He goes, Jake, pros don't do that. Pros don't let us have shots at fish. Like, I'm not going to cross that line. He wouldn't do it. I finally had to yell at him and say, cast into those fish. You know what I mean? And finally he's like, are you sure? Like, super respectful. Now he kicks our butts everywhere we go. So Conrad Demecs.
Yeah.
Cat's out of the bag. Should I text him, say jump on?
Yeah, tell him to jump on. I've got a little fun Shasta fact while we're doing that. I just checked water levels over the last 5 years, and for this time of year, early January, this is the highest the lake has been since before 2020.
Yeah, we don't
like 20 some feet in a month, right?
So 2020 was very close. It was about 10 feet lower than it is right now. But and then 2024 last year, it was about 30 feet down from right now.
Yeah.
But this is the highest the pool's been in 5
We don't
years.
get a lot of rain in December. We'll usually get one storm in November, and then it doesn't start raining until late January, February, March. Sometimes it doesn't rain. This has been one of the wetter Decembers we've ever had, so makes a lot of sense.
Hey,
What's up,
Jake's
boy?
calling.
Yeah, that's just me.
Hi, Jake's
Nice.
Angler.
Hi, Brian Smith.
That's awesome. Yeah, I about halfway through us hanging out, I think it was probably 2 or 3 seasons and traveling together, was nicknamed Conrad James. Like, like
Sounds
the
way better.
Starship. Yeah. The Starship pilot, Conrad James. That's hair on fire everywhere he went. So that's what we call him. Just Conrad's here.
That's my Durban name.
Yeah. I think it was Conrad MF and James or something like that, but we couldn't say it was something like that.
Yeah, we couldn't do the MR effort.
Well, thanks for jumping on, Holmes.
Yeah, dog.
I got a list of great stories. Some of them you probably won't want us to tell, but I think it's more fair that we tell these stories where you can defend yourself.
That's good. Every guy needs to
You
defend
never
his shot,
give me
so
that
let's do it.
chance.
no.
You burned that bridge.
You're just straight abuse. Just
Oh.
straight abuse.
Yeah. I was telling these guys that I'm editing video of Bryant and I all day.
So he's already mad at me,
gonna have to
even
be
though I
really
haven't
nice
said
to
a
Brian.
word to him.
I'm already ticked off. Oh, that's some good stuff.
All right, let's hear some stories.
What were you going to ask him, Bryant? Sorry.
Yeah, I want to hear something.
Yeah. Where do you want to start, Bryant or Conrad? This year you did win. Let's work backwards. That'll make it more fun.
Yeah.
This
I want to talk
year
about the Columbia River.
Yeah, you won the Columbia River without ever having seen it. You stole like
That's
5
right.
of my spots. Mm-hmm.
Sick.
6 spots.
You see that right? You see that one right there?
Mm.
Right there? That could have been yours, Jake. See that?
Hey, I can see where
Oh.
they erased Jake's name and put yours.
Oh.
The
Free
best part
tournament
of
favorite.
the best part of that day was I caught my big one first thing in the morning, and Mark Lassane jumped into my boat, and he opened the live well lid, and he goes, "Oh my God, that thing's over 5." Well, I never waited because it was the 5 fish day, and I was kind of in a hurry, so I thought I had 20 pounds because of what Mark said. And then when I passed you, and you're like, "Oh, I got like 19, dog," and I'm like, "I got you beat."
Well, Nerd.
that thing weighed.
Whoopsies.
I think it was a 4 1/4 or something. It wouldn't have changed anything I did, and I fished all day long thinking that I had a shot at winning it. But
What's funny is
Yeah.
I changed my game plan a little bit according to what you had. I was like,
Really?
oh, man, 19, like I got a shot for sure. And then you're like, I got 20. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going back to the juice, see if I can milk her for one more.
did you get another one?
No.
Oh.
No. Sat there in
So
5
when-
footers and beat myself up for an extra hour.
Well, it was a good win. It
Yeah.
was a good beating you gave yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell us about that one.
I don't know. You really have, I mean, you pick up a jig head minnow and you throw it dots until you catch 5 of the biggest ones you can. And that's how it went.
Didn't you catch a few on the A-rig, though?
That just the last day. Yeah, when that wind blew, it kind of made the adjustment. It's easier to present that A-rig down to those fish. So put on a rig and some 3.3s and slow rolled her. Just a big point that came out, current hit it, bunch of fish on. I get some salmon. So baby salmon came down the river and just boat on spot lock and hit one little nub, cast after cast, and they were just big ones.
So you had never seen step foot on that river until
Never. The only thing I did
one.
was Google Earth and Lake Master was like the two things I relied on. Was like, hey, where's the current coming from? What hits the current? Where are they going to set up to eat? And what phase are they in? That was the biggest thing. I didn't really know what phase they were going to be in. No, I started the first day in, kind of like a backwater, I think Patterson or whatever, fishing the grass for largemouth. And never saw anything and kind of looking for like some spawners. I was like, man, this isn't right. These fish are way out. And went to my first like post spawn hole and caught one. And then I went to like where they would summer and went out there and they were all grouped up on it. So that
Did you
kind of
just
clued me in pretty quick.
did you just kind of pick a spot and bomb into Patterson? Like,
No, I hit
No.
the ditch. No, no, I hit I hit that little drain that runs through there.
okay, yeah,
I
like,
told him that, too. I said, don't.
yeah. The
Oh,
entrance
yeah.
to that's a
Master
road
shows
bed,
you.
and there's a very like small
Oh, yeah.
area where if you don't hit it, you're
Gonna hit it.
You're not
crying.
happy. You're not happy.
Yeah, no,
I had a conversation with him because
Okay.
him and I pre-practiced Yuma. This is a great story. We pre-practiced Yuma, and I got on Google Earth, and I said, "This is how we're going to get all the way up there." And we put it on his graphs, and we're running down the lake, and I kept looking over at him. I'm like, "Dude, you don't have to go 60." You know what I mean? Like, if you hit a sandbar at 60, we'll be 700 yards up that sandbar. You can slow down. And he'd be like, "You're right. You're right." And he'd slow down. 5 minutes later, we're running, and I'm looking around trying to make sure we don't hit something. I look back over, and his pedal's all the way down. I'm like, "Conrad." I slow down. Oh, yeah. And then finally, he comes around one of the corners. I think it was the second or third day we were doing that, remember? And I looked over at you, and I'm like, "You're hauling butt again." And he kind of goes, "Yeah, you're right." And he went to look like this, and his glasses blew off.
Not
I
fun.
it was not that funny. I just can't remember, like, dude, we're going to hit a sandbar so hard. And there's no console, right? So I'm just going to do this, like, weird flopping, trying not to fall out, and run right off the deck and land in the water. So
Minor
I called
details.
him. I called him before the Columbia River event, and that's the one thing I said is, like, you can't go bombing around the Columbia River. It is the most unforgiving. You just can't make a lot of mistakes there. There's no
Yeah.
sand.
No
Mhm.
sand.
Yeah, dynamite.
Valid. Yeah.
Mhm. So before we get into, we're working our way backwards, but this is your second big one because you wanted
I
an
got a
MLF, right?
stats right
Yeah,
here.
Delta last year.
I took notes. Oh yeah.
No,
Oh yeah.
It's
No.
lettuce.
Brian's
Oh,
got
yeah.
a stats list. Let's go.
they're not good.
The Delta. No, this is just the highlight reel right here. So MLF, you wanted
Okay.
the Delta 2023, right?
Yep.
Van Pro Tour, you got the win on the Columbia River this past year. 9th place at Almanor,
Yep.
10th place at Martinez, and 6th
Yep.
at the Delta Championship. 4th place overall in points. That is impressive.
Yeah.
That is catching them around the entire Western region.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Are,
It's pretty solid.
Are you like? Where's the versatility come from?
I would say our lakes are pretty versatile. Besides the fact of the grass. So I spent a lot of years as like a co-angler fishing MLF and one bass. And I mean, I did that for probably 5 or 6 years, probably 4 or 5 years. And I think that's just where I learned to fish grass. And other than that, we've got everything here. Super gin clear water. We've got the stained water. We got the trees. You know, we got the power fishing, the flipping. Only thing we didn't have, like I said, was grass. So those years like at the Delta and Clear Lake, learning that, I think that's what kind of made me a well-rounded angler.
Yeah, like that stat sheet, that is not easy to do, especially like 2 major wins in the past year. Following it up with a 4th overall against some of the best anglers on the pro tour. Like that is impressive.
And you're not anywhere close to the Delta.
No.
It's not like you.
No.
Yeah,
No.
2 almost
14 hours.
1 win, 1 almost win, like at the Delta, probably one of the most intimidating bodies of water for anybody on the West Coast. And you just show up there and you catch it.
Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of that contributes to time on the water too. I mean, I spent, before I'd say last year, my son was born last year, 5 days before I won the Delta. I'd say before that, I was fishing 250, 300 days a year, guiding tournaments. I was fishing 30, 40 events a year, and just really understanding how like fish migrate, where they set up, where they're going after they spawn, before they spawn, where are they going, what are they doing? I think you can apply that to any fishery across the country. And I mean, you understand where fish are going, you're going to be able to catch them. So I think that's just a big part of it.
Did you just say you won the Delta 5 days after your son was born?
Yeah, I flew out the day after he was born.
So awesome.
Wow.
Husband of the year, dad of the year.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
My-
Can we
my
interview
wife
your wife
loved
for a minute?
Yeah. When you come home with 30 grand, things start to simmer down a little bit. You're all right.
Yeah, you justified it. Yeah.
Don't worry,
100%.
sweetheart. Diapers are on me.
For the first month at least.
That's all.
Yeah.
I do remember
right.
that.
Well, you know, you mentioned about being a co-angler for a long time, and in the last episode, we talked a lot about trying to get, you know, a co-angler presence and like trying to incentivize guys to show up to these events as co-anglers. Can you speak a little more to how it really helped, like maybe help form you as a angler on the front of the boat, like what it did for you over those years?
Yeah, I think it taught me a lot of like what to do and what not to do. So you're not going to draw Robert Lee on the Delta every event. You're not going to draw Roy Hawk on Havasu every event, but you might draw a guy that is clueless, and he might take you up in this part of the lake that is, you know, doesn't make sense. And then you draw a guy day 2, and he's like, hey, this is how I'm catching them. And you're like, okay, that makes sense for this time of year. And I think I had a lot of that. I mean, I don't know, 20 co-angler, 30 co-angler events over those few years. And I got to draw Robert Lee on the Delta twice. I got to draw Bryant Smith on Havasu.
You did not learn anything that day. I know
Wasted time.
Guess what? We both
dang
zeroed.
right we did. With style.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just like seeing different guys and how they fish, and fishing a bunch of different fisheries. You know, I mean, you're getting a guide trip for what, $400, $500 for 2, maybe 3 days. I mean, I'm a guide. I charge $750 for a full day, 8-hour day. So, you know, you're getting that for $500 3 times possibly. So, I mean, there's a good return on your investment. You're going to learn a bunch, and you get to compete and potentially win some money at the same time. I mean, I don't see the downfall.
What was your strategy going into a tournament as a co-angler? Did you practice? Did you like do a lot of research? Did you just show up? And then like once you're on the water, how did you make your adjustments?
So I traveled with Ty, Al, and Vual. I traveled with them for 2-3 years. So we truck camped it and roughed it for 2-3 years, and I practiced with both of them for every event. Daylight to dark, 3-4 days of practice, and just really put our nose to the grindstone. So that, I mean, gave me an idea of what to do after spending so much time on the water before the events. But my fault for a few years was trying to fish as a pro, you know, trying to throw a chatterbait behind the guy in the front of the boat, trying to flip behind a guy in the front of the boat. And I learned quick, quit being stupid and pick up a purple worm and a Senko and quit messing around, you know? So it probably took me 2 years to kind of really realize, like, I'm not going to beat the guy in the front of the boat power fishing. I had some opportunities, caught a few key fish doing it, but it wasn't something where I was going to win. And when I almost won the Delta as a co in, I don't know, 18 or 19, that was like one of the first events where I was like, okay, I'm picking up a purple worm and a Cinco. These fish are post-spawn. I just need to get, this is how I need to catch them. And that was kind of my eye-opening moment for that, for sure.
I think you were a co for longer than you should have been. And I say that only because you struggled. I think you had a hard time finding a boat because boats were so expensive. But you see this pattern where there's co's that are really, really good. And then when they become pros, it takes them a little bit to learn all the stuff. I feel like I remember when Ty told you that he thought you should be winning more. You guys were on your way home from a big tournament. He's like, you're too good. You should be winning more. You told me that story.
Yeah.
And you didn't win a ton as a co, but then now you're a pro and you're really good. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the norm. It's not like he won all this co-angler stuff. You learned from it. But if you had a boat prior, 2 or 3 years prior, and gotten out of the co side, I think you would have started winning like you are. The progression would be the same.
Yeah, I was ready. It was just more of a financial thing. I was 20, 21 years old. Just hustling, trying to make enough money to fish a derby. So the pro side wasn't really an option for me. But, as I got older and got smarter and whatnot, the boats came, and then that gave me the opportunity to derb at a higher level.
Yeah. Your progression, like, the minute you got that boat, because that was really your first class boat, right? The one you just got rid of. You could tell
so I had a 17-foot Triton. I bought that off of a buddy, gave me a good price, and so I'll tell you this: I bought it for $11,000. It was like a 186 Triton aluminum, had a 115 Optimax on it. Like, it was decked out. It was a nice aluminum boat, and prices just soared like 3 months after I bought it. So I said, screw it. I turned that 11, flipped it for 18. Took that 18, put that 18 down on 2020 Z21, and that's what got me the start, for sure.
Did you buy your buddy a beer after you flipped that boat?
No.
The problem was that the Z21 that he had to buy had also undergone a large price
everything
increase.
went up.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my first glass boat. Yeah. And I mean, that's I started fishing from the front as soon as that happened. I was self-employed, and I was fishing more than I probably should have been, but I knew that's what I wanted to do, and there was really no other option. So to the pond I went.
What was that transition like?
Yeah, you used
from co-angler to pro.
More rods,
less money, and that's it, really. Because I had been fishing from the front because I'd been fishing team tournaments with my buddy Brandon for, I don't know, 3 years at that point, and we're both at the front of the boat. We're rubbing shoulders fishing, so it's like I was comfortable running the boat fishing. I mean, it was just another day on the lake as soon as I got that boat. So I just started acquiring more tackle and had to get serious about it. And learning my electronics from like what I wanted to run was I would say a big adjustment. But other than that, that's it.
You were like when we were down at Yuma, when we were the way you ran your boat, though, I could tell that you were young and it was your first boat, because you were getting that boat into places it didn't belong. And I remember saying, like, the prop is in the ground, and you're like, I know, but it goes better that way, or something like that.
Grip.
You literally would trim it down and walk it in.
That's right.
In the dirt.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just a tool. I mean, the boat's just a wrench to me. So the wrench, it's a socket. It's it's where it's going to go. I'm not going to not go somewhere because I think it's going to scratch my boat or make it dirty.
Yeah. I wonder what your wife thinks, though, when you're dropping $700 on props every other derby. How many props have you run? Never mind.
Just one. And I flung the blade. It didn't even hit anything.
Tell the story about your boat, since that's kind of a new, there's some changes coming. How is this boat we're talking about?
So the old Nitro has seen her last day on the water. Yep. So I had
after how many years?
For Well, the boat would be 4 years old.
4 years old. How many hours?
So I bought it with 175 hours in 2021 from my buddy Drew 6. He fished NPFL with you guys.
We know Drew.
Yep. So I bought his boat, and last year I sold the motor and it had 900 hours on it.
Dang.
So I put 720.
You weren't
I put
kidding
like
about the 300 days on
725
the water.
hours.
Wow, you ran it.
I put like 725 hours on it in 2.5 years. So then I bought a 2024 motor in September of last year, and then I put another 100 on it this year. So that boat's got 1,100 hours on it, 1,200 running hours on it, somewhere in that ballpark. And but yeah, she's no longer with us. I had noticed some cracking the other day in the hull, and I slapped away pretty good at Lake Pleasant. That was in September, and looked underneath, and there's just a big chunk of fiberglass exposed. The whole hull was cracked, and yeah. So I decided, I talked to some people and my fiberglass guy, and he said, this is not repairable.
Can I show the picture you sent?
Yeah, show it.
Can you guys see it? This is the
That
hull.
does not look repairable. That's correct.
The red part is the part.
Yeah, so it cracked all the way down to the.
And this
there was
you
everywhere.
didn't strike land. This is literally
I slapped a wave and it chunked that piece off. So, granted, I beat the crap out of the boat. I don't go out 5 times a year kind of thing. I beat the crap out of it, but it didn't hold up to what I needed it to do. So,
Captain Conrad James.
Yeah, Captain Conrad sent her a little too hard. But yeah, so I talked to my fiberglass guy, John Turner with American Standard Fiberglass, and he said, you should probably file a claim. So I ended up filing a claim with my insurance company, and after about a month, they came back 2 weeks ago and said, this is a total loss. So they're paying me out on the boat. They're coming to pick it up probably next week or this week. And I ordered a brand new 2025 Phoenix last week, thanks to El Prez. So
That's right. The only thing that
right.
stinks is now you're going to be faster than everyone again.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to be running the 721 ZXL this year for sure.
Thing will scream.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because the previous boat goes about 65 top speed. So I won't know what to do with 75.
But the stringers weren't connected to the boat. You couldn't actually lift the front of it. So
That could have been part of the
trim it out. It's just plowing.
minor details.
Yeah, who needs
A
stringers?
little bit of flex there.
Yeah, whatever.
Wild. I mean,
Yeah.
That's cool.
should a boat be able to handle 1,000 hours of hard
I don't
use?
know. That's the thing. It's like these guys don't make them for guys like us, right? They make them for the weekend warrior that takes out 8 times a year from March to May and then a couple times in October. Not a guy that's running around beating it through cane piles on the bank to get through a backwater and squeezing through docks and I don't know, running 6-footers in the Columbia. That's not what they're made for.
Well,
I guess, but
I have over 700. I have almost 800 on my 921, and no pieces have fallen off
that's the start.
that I've seen.
That's good.
No, I think the hardest thing on these boats, besides the beating that we give them, is trailering them.
Yeah.
What was it? Bryant and I were in Arkansas for an NPFL event, and those are probably some of the toughest roads on a boat trailer.
Michigan.
Was it Arkansas or was it Oklahoma?
Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Like you look back, Bryant was on the phone with me one time and we're trying to figure out where we're going. He goes, that pothole you hit actually almost flipped your motor into your boat.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think it should have moved like that.
You got to run a leash just for the trailer.
Just gonna say
It's just trailer.
that.
You're right. It was Michigan because of the frost heaves.
Yeah.
You guys are probably in Flint.
What is a frost heave?
All the roads most of the busy roads up there are made out of concrete because the asphalt can't handle the temperatures, and they frost heave up. And so you're looking at it and you can see it, but most of the time it's like, I absolutely physically can't believe that somebody hasn't fixed this yet. About when the front tires of your truck go off the ground,
It's literally like hitting a small curb in the middle of the highway going 75 to 80.
Yeah.
And then I look back. Yep, there goes Jake. Oh, yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's not good on a boat.
No.
So no sponsor plug here, but my Phoenix I've had since 19 has the trailer itself has over 100,000 miles on it because when I got my new truck, and my truck has 100,000 miles on it, a little bit more. Or I had two, but just the MPFL trips and everything we did, I've got to have close to 100 on that trailer, and then 700 or 800 hours on the boat, and the boat's. I mean, if I'm out here talking to somebody like a kid like Conrad, who's gonna probably buy something because he's so dire going into the sport, you know what I mean? And it's just, I'm getting what I can get. That stuff matters, right? If you could have easily been in a situation if insurance would have said that whatever, or maybe your insurance didn't cover it or something like that, that you would have had a boat you can't run and you'd have been in deep trouble.
I would have been in deep trouble. Yeah. Very fortunate that they totaled it out. I was a little worried that I don't know what I would have done, but we would have figured it out.
Dude, I was gonna let you borrow my buddy's 17-foot Stratos for the season.
I've got a 21-foot Triton out front of my house right now that I'm trying to sell. I was gonna buy that off the lady and run it, but I don't have to anymore, so we're good.
So where's the line go between like boat manufacturer warranty and insurance coverage in a situation like?
So I think obviously with like in the insurance world, if it was something you hit, that is insurable. That's, it's a covered peril. I mean, that's why you have insurance. I think if it was something where they deemed it a manufacturer defect, that's where the manufacturer would probably have to get involved. But from what I've heard, that is not an easy task to get the manufacturers to cover something that, that they did. So that's why I went with the insurance route first, just because I thought that would be the quickest.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You should probably get insurance on your new boat before this podcast comes out.
It might be a high risk.
So?
You might want to secure that.
Why is my policy $5,000 a year?
Yeah,
We
you
heard
got
your
24 or so hours. So
Yeah.
I could see your insurance agent like going, so your boat is just a tool, huh?
What did he say? A wrench?
you called it a wrench, or maybe a socket. I don't know.
I was talking about an Alpha Angler wrench, not an Alpha wrench. Geez.
So one thing I don't think people know about you, and this is probably my favorite part, is you are a straight up hustler. Like you're the bass fishing, whatever it takes to get to the next derb. And when I first met you, you were a kid, and like you always had hey, I got a reel I'm selling. Like you're like the go-between. You know everybody. And then when I first met you, I'm like, what do you do for a living? And you want to tell that story, or do I get to?
You can. Yeah, it don't matter.
Let's
hear it from Jake's perspective.
Well, I thought it was awesome because when I first met you, I was still working at Buck, and this was super fun, and I was fishing at a higher level because I was moving up, but was still playing the game of like, how do I get the time off and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I got my own company. I started my own company, like an 18-year-old kid telling you this. But tell everybody how awesome this company was, because this is pretty cool.
Yep. So, actually, I'll tell you the whole story. So I was working for a glass company. We were installing shower doors. This was 2016, 17, maybe? Yes, 2016. And I had qualified for the MLF, then FLW championship at Table Rock. But before that, we were at a Bass Open in, I want to say it was the Red River or the Arkansas River, fishing the Southern Opens. So it was back to back. So I was going to be gone for like 2.5 weeks straight. And I was like, hey, I got these 2 derbies coming up. I'm going to be gone for the next 2.5 weeks. And it wasn't really going to fly. So they kind of gave me the option, like, hey, you can go fish that derby and not come back to a job, or you can stay here and work. So I said, where do I sign? I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yep. So 18-year-old kid, minimal responsibilities. I said, I'm out of here. Packed up my stuff and went. And sitting there like the day off or whatever for the championship, I was just thinking like, man, what can I do that I don't have to tell someone I'm going? I'm just going. And I was like, I got no money. I got enough money in my pocket right now to give Vu some money to get home and get a couple tacked chicken sandwiches or something at the gas station. And I was like, man, what can I do? So I started Googling, and I was like, ooh, pooper scooper. I thought that would be glorious. So I said, well, I got a little, I had a little Chevy Colorado and Home Depot bucket and a $20 pooper scooper. I was off and running the next week.
What was it called? What was the name of the business?
Someone's got to do it.
Yes.
BOO.
Brilliant.
You like it?
Oh, that's awesome.
I bet
Yep,
you pulled into a neighborhood and like 7 people around
Yeah.
the house you were at came out.
Yeah, it was fun. I did that for probably a year and a half, 2 years.
That's brilliant.
You sold your client list too. It was like valuable
Yeah.
when you got out.
Yeah. I sold them. I don't know. I probably had 40 or 50 clients. I didn't want to keep it like super heavy. I want to make enough money that I can fish and start paying some bills and do something, but I don't want to have like 100, 200 people to where it was like, I don't know. I just wasn't ready for something serious like that. I did enough to where I could get them all done in a couple of days and go fish for 3 or 4 days. So, but yeah, I ended up selling like, I don't know, 75% of them, of the clients, probably 2 years later, made some money, and I don't know what I did after that, but I did something. Just
How much
hustling.
does someone like
Just hustling.
how much does
Just
someone
hustling.
pay?
So I had clients where it's like one dog, one time a week, it was like 10, 15 bucks a session, 40, 50 bucks a month. And I had some where I was like hitting a horse stall every day for 20 bucks a stop. And I was making,
so
400 bucks a month on something like that. So
it wasn't
it's
just dog poop.
no, I did. I did everything. I had a whole route, 3-4 days a week where I would just pummel through it, get it done, wrap it up in a big trash bag, and throw it in my parents' trash can.
Bryant, we are doing the Living the Dream show.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have to. Because like this kind of stuff,
Perfect.
people just like, I want to be a bass fisherman. I'm like, all right,
But
well, are you willing
no,
are
you
you willing
don't.
to start your own poop? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The best. One
Wow.
time you remember, you might remember this. One time you and I were on the Delta and you had your brother helping you. Do you remember that? And you called him and you're like, all right, you need to hit these 3 accounts or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I remember, and don't leave it in the back of mom's car again. In Phoenix, it was like 112 degrees in Phoenix, and your brother
Bake. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, you said it like 3 times. Said, don't leave it in the back of
Don't
mom's
do
car.
it again.
Again.
That's
Ah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I look back at some of those things. I was like, God, I was dumb, but just to catch a stupid bass, I don't know what my problem is, but I do it all again, I guess.
Your dad's the one that got you into it, right?
Fishing, yeah. So he fished FLW, early 2000s, and then kind of has cherry picked a few here and there, and we fished a few back when he had a boat. We lived on Lake Travis in Austin for 3 or 4 years and fished there every day for a couple of years, and yeah. So he definitely got me into it, but I kind of took it like a crackhead and ran with it.
When I was part of the corporate world, people like you I would have never met. Like all my closest friends now are fishing junkies. Brandon was in a college class, and the teacher said, if you go to the Bass National Championship, I will flunk you.
See ya.
And he said, and he left. And look at
Make
him.
it make it an S plus.
Right. But like, I'm raising kids. The last thing I would tell them is like, hey, what you need to do is just follow your dreams to the point you're picking up poop. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just a different side of the world. Bryant's the same way. Like the story where you didn't have money to get home unless you won the FLW. Like, these aren't things we teach our kids.
I remember
now, like your circle of friends.
Yeah, that one, I got a top 10. It was one of those ones when I was pretty young, and I was fishing, I think it was like first or second year on the front of the boat, and I didn't look at my bank account because I knew it was ugly. And I went into this tournament, and I'm like, well, this is it. Like, if I don't catch them, I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to go do what everybody else does, I guess. I got it was like a $6,658 check for third place I put it in my bank account, and I checked the next day. I'm like, oh, I'll have 6,000, maybe a little bit more. I had 5,600 and something. I'd overdrawn my account $1,000 to fish this tournament.
I love it. I love
That's awesome. It's so
But
good.
that's what you got to do.
Somebody on this show, yeah. But I'm sitting here to tell, like, somebody has to be like, yeah, you guys are like not the norm, right? You guys are the exception. Not, please, if you're watching the show, we're not
No.
encouraging you to go bankrupt.
Do it.
Buy a boat you can't
Yeah.
afford.
Do it.
I mean, yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, you got to be smart about it a little bit. I feel like me and Conrad were both pretty young and dumb when these things happened, so we had some time to recover if things didn't go right. But
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
That's what I
man.
told Jake all those
Well-
years. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. He
It'll be
hated it
fine.
when I
I
said
mean-
that. Where are we
Oh,
going
I
to sleep
hated it
tonight?
so
I don't know.
bad.
We'll be fine. It'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
And you always did it because you didn't want to call. Like, you never wanted to call. Like, hey, I handled the rest of the reservations for the rest of the week. Will you just figure out where we should crash tonight? Oh, it'll be fine. We'll find
Yeah.
something.
It'll work out.
And it does.
Yeah,
I love it.
Lots of truck stops.
It's a mindset, not a good one,
Something.
but it's a mindset.
It's something.
I mean, I think Jake and I have talked about. Jake mentioned to me, Bryant, how on another plane you are, and I'm really curious how you keep your head together. Like, how did you go into that tournament with knowing that you, like, was it a nothing to lose attitude? I mean, you always catch them. You've proven that, but how does that not get in your head?
You know, the thing I've been lucky about is I've never had anything else. You know, I do some random stuff here and there to make money, but for the most part, I've always made enough fishing to keep it going. So I've never really known anything else. Like, I know my next paycheck is probably going to be fishing. I mean, it is going to be fishing related, whether it's in a tournament, sponsorship, whatever it is. So I've always had that. It sounds bad, but it'll be fine. Like, it'll happen. If you worry about that other stuff, then, you know, it'll creep up on you. But you just, you know, I've always just kind of kept my head down, kept my faith going, and just, that's all you can do. It's really weird. Like, I've had 3 or 4 times where I've had moments like that, where it's like, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep this going. And then, you know, I win one, or I have a really good finish and, you know, finally get some money back in the bank. You know, it's always kind of been that way. So I always just trust the process of it. And is it easy a lot of times? No. Like, it's gotten definitely harder with the more responsibilities that I've taken on, but it's something that I know, like, if I don't have confidence in myself to go and catch them and make money with a rod and reel, I'm not going to do my job very well. So I always try to keep that confidence as high as I can.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Money. Well said.
It's the faith, dude. It's the faith thing. I know you as good as probably anybody. God wants you to be good at this because you couldn't have done it on your own.
We know that one. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I really, sometimes I look and
Wow.
I'm like,
Wow.
I'm jealous. I'm like, I like how he just accidentally wins everything. But
You just got to believe, man.
sometimes you struggle to have the same 2 shoes
Well,
on.
that's why I'm good with fishing, not tying my shoes.
But yeah, like, so the first year we were on tour in the MPFL, Bryant's like, the joke is we talk. I don't remember who, somebody came up to me at the Classic. Can't remember who it was. It was Brad Fuller. It wasn't Brad Fuller, but you should fish MPFL. So I called Bryant and said we should do it. And like halfway in the year, we're traveling across the country and chewing each other out. And he's like, the only reason I stay with you is because you have a camper. Because Brian wants to. And I remember one morning, every morning, Bryant gets up in the morning and it's ready to go Durban. And every other time he's, you know, polite and patient and everything, except for that first 20 minute, like, he's ready to be on the lake. And he, like, he crawls out of the back of his truck and swings my camper door open, and I'm just waking up, and he's like, "We gotta go. Where's my coffee? You got the lunch in the fridge?" And he's like, "Hold up." Slam the door, like,
wake up.
and he stands out there, and he's like, "You're old. You're taking so long." And he just is like, "Oh, I just locked the door. You don't get any coffee." I'd spit in his coffee. "Here's your coffee."
It's a working relationship.
That sounds about right.
That's the next part of the Living the Dream show. I mean, we survived a whole season on tour eating hamburgers, hot dogs, and bag salad. That was
And
just-
mayonnaise. I heard mayonnaise
lot
too.
of mayonnaise.
Yeah, lots of
You got to
mayonnaise.
keep everything
That's so
well
gross.
lubricated.
Mm.
Like you literally, here's your sandwich. You literally could take the bag and squeeze it in your sandwich and just pop out.
The meat would slide right out where you're holding the sandwich, and the meat slides backwards, and you're holding two mayonnaise up pieces of bread. Hey, it worked.
Yeah.
Okay? It still works. It works. You
Yeah,
you
That's
you got
funny.
me converted to the olive oil mayonnaise, so I'm healthy now.
Ooh.
much healthier.
Ooh.
In an unpopular opinion,
What's bad?
mayonnaise and ketchup on a hot dog. It's the only way to do it.
You Canadian?
But yeah, that's not
It's
the only
the
way to
only
do it.
way.
Don't tell people that.
With a better cheddar, trust me, it's a thing. Just try it. You would never try it.
What? Hey, probably not. Better cheddars will kill you, though. We ate way too many better cheddars that
I
year.
still eat them on the Elite Series. I don't care. But they're so easy. Like, that's the last thing I want to do is, like, really get involved with cooking a whole dinner. You throw either, if you're really lazy, put them in the microwave. If not, boil them, throw them on a bun, call it good. Go to sleep.
Tell
There you
everybody your boat launch trick. This is awesome.
Which one?
Like if you fish till dark.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah. So, I sleep in the back of my truck when I'm pre-practicing, and up at New York, like Champlain, St. Lawrence, when it's the middle of summer, it's not getting dark till 10 o'clock. So I'm coming back at like 10 o'clock. I go to my truck with the boat tied up. It's just sitting there at the dock. I get my barbecue out, light it up, put 2 hot dogs in it, drive my truck around, leave the barbecue in the middle of the parking lot, drive my truck around, pick my boat up, load it up. When I drive back to the parking spot, there are 2 perfectly done hot dogs every single time. Haven't burnt one yet.
Love it.
Living the
dream.
dream.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Parking lot hot dogs.
Yeah, we need that episode.
You got any? Yeah, we're gonna have to do the Living the Dream episode. You got any good travel hacks, Conrad, that we should know about?
Travel hacks. No, I don't. I just go until my truck says no or I get home.
At the Columbia River, I think I talked to you a couple days after, and you left after weigh-in. You took your trophy, put it in the truck, and you drove back to Arizona that day or that night.
Yeah.
Right.
I ended up working the next day.
How far is that drive?
19.
So
I'm still tired.
Living the dream.
And yeah, there we go. And didn't you blow a tire on the way home?
No, so actually, I got out of Boise, heading to Twin Falls, and I blew a hub
Even
on
better.
my trailer. So, yep. So I pulled over, and I didn't have any tools to take a tire off. That's a travel hack.
That's a travel
tire
hack.
iron.
There's your travel hack.
In the socket.
Bring it intact. Bring it intact as a socket. Yeah. So I ended up calling Adam Beacon, and he came and rescued me. Thank the Lord. He was like 30 minutes from me, or else I still would probably be on that side of that highway right now.
Yeah, you would have made it to like Nevada
Shoot.
pushing it.
Yeah.
It's all downhill
Dragging.
from there anyway.
I don't think you would have made it to work the next day.
Yeah. But yeah, no,
That's-
was grinding again, part of it.
That's the number one thing I think people take for granted is their trailers when they start driving more. Like, I don't know how many times, I don't know how Bryant and I never lost a hub on the highway, but I'm like super this scares the bejesus out of me, but multiple trips to this Shasta thing, the guys I was traveling with, they show up and their tires like crooked on the back, and they're like making a weird noise, and it's hot. The hub is missing.
That'd be fine.
It didn't fly off yet?
It'll be fine.
Yeah,
Jason Crone followed me last year to the Shasta event, and as soon as we got in, he goes, "It's making a really weird noise," and I'm not kidding. The only thing holding on was this little tiny piece of metal. The axle was completely destroyed, and I'm like, you'd never noticed it before that. Like, you had to have pulled it like that at least 100 miles. Yeah, it made a little noise. I didn't think too much of it. As soon as he took the cap off, the tire just fell off. Like, we almost lost it on the highway.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah, I've given Tom on 3 tires before a lot.
Hey, Jake, have you ever lost a tire on a highway before?
Yes. I have. No, I take it back. I was acting like I'm kind of immune to it. I actually have. And it's a good story, too, because it was with my buddy Justin Colbeck. We were staying with my buddy Justin Colbeck. It wasn't even my boat. I borrowed his boat. But he went with, that was the Gadsden. We did an open on Neely Henry. Is that what it was?
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, because you stayed with us. And so he had a slow leak. So he's like, we got to change that. And I'm like, well, I'm using your boat. I'll go change it. Well, I went out there and I did everything, changed the tire, but I forgot to tighten down the lug nuts. Like, I just put them on. I'm not kidding, dude. And you have those moments. Like, I woke up in the middle of the night, like the last day of the tournament, and I swear God was like, "Hey, knucklehead, you missed something." And I'm like, "You're right."
But what was it?
Probably what it is.
Yeah.
Some
I remember being like, "Oh, I better tighten those tomorrow." Totally forgot. We fished the tournament, got my head kicked in. We're on our way down the highway, and Justin was driving because he was a co-angler in that tournament. And some dude in, like, I don't remember where we were, Chattanooga, pulled, "Hey, bro!" They rolled down the window. "Your tire fell off like 5 miles back there. Went across it." And I remember thinking, what kind of a junky truck you got? It took you 5 miles to catch up and tell us. Like,
yeah, blame that guy.
Yeah.
This is that guy's fault. Did you find the tire?
No, we never went back and looked. I was afraid it was going to be.
Like I was saying,
my buddy Jason Crone has lost a tire per trip that he's made back east, like every trip he's made in the last 4 years. And he's like, it's getting bad. Like, I guess one went off and ended up in some guy's front doorstep at like 1 a.m. And he goes, I wanted my tire back, but like, who has there was still noise and people going, and at 1 a.m, he goes, I just really was kind of worried about my safety. So I smuggled my own tire off of his porch. Like, running through the thing
Somebody's
with the tire.
got that all on their Ring doorbell too.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Smuggled my own tire off this guy's porch. Yeah. He's got a story like that for almost every trip he's made back east. I feel bad for him.
Do you believe in those 100,000-mile hubs? Like, do you think they really are 100,000-mile hubs?
And if you think that they're 100,000-mile hubs, you better get a couple extra tire irons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Conrad will coach you. Conrad will coach you through it.
I like the old bearing buddy system on my Champion, personally.
Yeah. A little red and tacky and call it good.
Yeah, and you could check on it pretty easily. But
The only way to check the new ones.
these sealed ones, I don't know.
Yeah, I still got 4.
Yeah. They're there or they're not. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So Conrad.
So
no,
I got another.
My turn.
Oh, yeah, go
We
ahead.
gotta get back to Conrad.
Yeah,
We
go.
got this awesome guest on. We're not even talking to him. What's next?
Yeah,
Canard.
What is next? Are there dreams of going east? Are you? I know you're doing Super 60, right?
Yeah, doing Super 60. I would say my goal, 2025 goal, win a Super 60 and send it in the opens.
I like it. So the dream is to go.
That's the goal. To
Yeah.
the Elite Series.
Well,
Yeah.
Based on
Specifically the Elite Series.
based on how you've gotten here this far, I don't think there's any stopping you.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it. It's getting harder and harder, and the little one, it's getting more difficult. So I need to just go and do it.
I like it.
So just got to get in the spot, get in a spot where I can do it with work and financially and full send.
That's the important part is, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not comfortable spending that kind of money and able to spend that kind of money, it's always going to be in the back of your mind. And I feel that's the smart way to do it. Make sure you're ready. You're ready on the water. You got to make sure you're ready off the water. That's perfect.
Yep. So that's the goal for 25.
I like.
Just win one or two. You gonna go for two, or you gotta?
I'll take them all.
After two, after two, you're gonna lay off. You think, or?
Negative.
Do you think if you went back east, you would take Maddie and Cope?
For the Opens, probably not. If I fish the Elite Series, yes. Which is obviously that's another can of worms, but the Opens, I like the format it is now. You got 4 events, and if you suck, then you go back home, and if you do good, you got 3 more EQs to wrap it up. So 4 is pretty obtainable. I mean, 4. I mean, we're gonna fish 5 events plus everything else. So 4 is not difficult. It's doing the 7 would be the issue, but I don't know. We'll figure that out when it happens.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the way the BAM works is you can do both.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if you missed an event, you could still come back home and make money and stay, keep the edge of the knife sharp fishing against tough guys on the West Coast and do both. Like Bryant can do both.
Yep.
Just glad you have something to come back to that you can do that. Maybe if the dream becomes reality, like what Brandon said, there'll be a route. You just never know.
Yeah, could be cool. Yeah. I'll take it.
Keep talking about it.
What are you most excited about with the Pro Tour schedule this year?
Well, I'd be lying if I said not the Columbia River. So I'm pretty excited about the Columbia. But man, I don't know. I'd say the Columbia River. I mean, that place is awesome. I like the way it sets up, and it'll set up even better in August. What else we got? We got Don Pedro, Delta. I mean, love the Dirty D. Yeah, I mean, all of them. I'm excited for Pedro.
Coming to your state
never
for the
been
Mojave.
there before. Mojave in May is going to be off the chains. I mean, that's good. Those fish are going to set up really good in May.
Have you spent a lot of time there?
I fished two U.S. Opens there and then 2 team championships there. So I feel I got, 20 days on the water, 25 days on the water.
Do you know, what does May look like out there?
May, it's first week of May. Those smallmouth will probably be getting on their offshore stuff. They'll be in their summer deal. I mean, it'll be over 100 degrees. That place sets up so good for a summer pattern. So I'll be out there with a little worm and a minnow probably and chasing dots.
Is that the one you can't do, Brian, or can you?
I can do Mojave. I can't do the Columbia River. Yeah, that's the. I was bummed about that, but
yeah, I don't need you whole buzzarding my spots.
That's what I do best.
That's a good segue.
It's what I do best. But you got no excuse though.
Beau said when I don't have an excuse.
Speaking of whole buzzard, I think we were at the Columbia River, Conrad, and I think we were all kind of standing around your boat, and I noticed a very particular sticker on your console.
Yeah.
Why do you have a sticker on your console that says whole buzzard?
Hashtag whole buzzard.
Yeah.
So let's roll back actually about a year to date, first week of January last year, 2024. We had a local tournament and 60-something boats, pays really good. And so there's some good competition. There's some guys that know how to catch them there. And all these guys are on the bank, and there's one other boat out in the channel chasing scope and fish. And along with myself, there's 2 of us. And I started like half a mile past this team. And we ended up, I'm just on the trolling motor, zigzagging, scoping, throwing at every dot I see. And we're both catching them. And, we kind of are both working at each other, from half a mile away, just down this drain. And we kind of get up and we're, fishing around each other. And we ended up beating them by like 1/10 of a pound. And, fishing for the same kind of fish, doing the same deal. And they posted later on Facebook that night, hashtag watch out for the whole buzzards.
You had to brand yourself.
So you had a big sticker made? That's what I like.
Yeah, so hashtag whole buzzards, baby.
I love it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
in the background when you were doing your interviews after you won the river,
I know.
too.
I loved it. Yeah.
You're like, oh, I do these baits, and there's a big whole buzzard across the back.
Damn whole buzzards. I'm hoping Sixth Sense doesn't freaking send me a notice. Pretty sure they got that patented by now.
Well, maybe they'll just send you a hat.
Yeah, I got a shirt.
There you go.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That's the story behind that one, but it's all good. Just another derb.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a weird
Just
dynamic.
bourbon. So when does your...
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I want to hear you talk about weird dynamics.
It is such a weird dynamic with forward-facing sonar, how there's not a waypoint that people are fighting over. You just kind of go around each other. It is so like if you would have saw Champlain the past 2 years, you would just and you had no idea what forward-facing sonar was. You would just laugh. Like, what are these idiots doing out here? They're just crisscrossing, zigzagging. There's no way to go. You're just looking for the next fish. It's not like you're fishing a point or anything like that. It's so funny to hear stories like that where it's like, you were fishing my water. No, I was just fishing the water.
Yeah, I was out in the middle of the channel in 60 foot, throwing it dots. Yeah, right on top of your spot, bro.
Hey, I saw that fish earlier, man. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But you owned it. I like it.
Owned it and got the dub. That's all that matters.
On to the next one. When's your new boat come in?
First week of March. So I get to rig it,
Yeah.
wrap it, break it in about 2 weeks, which also leaves me out of pre-practicing Pedro. So whatever.
Well, you didn't pre-practice Columbia.
Do you think
You're
Pedro...
just fine.
So, and I prefer it. If the Pro-Am wasn't there, I probably wouldn't do it. I did want to fish the Pro-Am, but whatever. Roll up, look at your map, and go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah. I had that conversation today with Nick Wood about the harder I pre-practice for certain events. Like when Bryant and I were traveling, the way it looked was we'd go to a lake, we'd fish our tournament, then we'd travel to the next lake, wherever it was, Florida to Alabama, and then we'd spend 2 or 3 days on the lake that we were coming back to before off limits. We'd fly home. The lakes where we couldn't pre-practice are the ones that I did the best on. My truck broke down and Bryant's boat broke down when we were going down to the Harris Chain. We literally got maybe a half day on the lake between trying to figure out how we're gonna get things fixed. You know what I mean? Like something's wrong. And they come back and both of us had a top 10. But it's a little bit different than the Pro Tour because we get no practice. But like in NPFL, we saw 3 days on the water to see what was going on.
Right.
But you're still seeing it.
Yeah.
fresh.
No, the biggest thing I really just want to, you're seeing it fresh. You're just going out and you're making decisions right then and there. So I think that's what makes a good angler anyways, being able to make those decisions right then and there, make the right ones.
I thought it was super interesting that when we were in a pre-tournament meeting and Mark, you guys remember this, he asked, he did a vote of who wanted, he was talking about possibly adding a drive, a drive around day or, some sort of day before the actual event where you could at least get your boat on the water or something. And he put it up to vote. And I think, we have 30 guys. I think only 2 or 3 people raised their hand to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super cool. The majority of the guys fishing this over this last year are more inclined to show up and go fishing.
Yeah.
And I think it was surprising, but also really cool.
Yeah. I love it. I can get off work on a Wednesday, drive up there, be there Thursday, and do Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That's the other part that's awesome is, the Pro-Ams, that's an investment. You're putting extra time in, extra, extra lodging or camping or whatever. There's more cost involved, less time, for, us who have jobs, less time for us to work. It's kind of nice. We don't have to make as much of a commitment to go fish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. I love it.
Do you think that you're not going to do any of the pro-ams, right, Conrad? You're only doing the...
Probably not, unless another one lines up like a pre-practice deal, like for the Delta or something. I won't do anything for the Columbia, anything. I mean, there's not a big enough pot for me to run up there 2 times in a month, kind of thing. If they were higher entry fee pro-ams, I would.
Boy,
I'm a gambler. I love gambling.
That's my guy.
it's
So-
the tough.
More money in, more money
Since
out.
we're talking about pro-ams,
That's it. I wish we
do
did
you-
$5,000 entries.
So do you feel like, so Mark, he's got the kind of the California Pro-Am circuit. He's got the Northwest swing he started. I mean, how do you think Arizona would receive like an Arizona or Arizona Southern California type Pro-Am?
Pro-am, I think you'd get, on a high end, I think you'd get 60 boats. 60 to 70 boats.
That's contingency.
I mean, I think it's hard to hit 100. I think there's a lot of guys in Arizona specifically that got the rat boats, got the jerseys, but don't even show up to a fruit jar on Wednesday night.
Are you at those fruit jars?
Oh yeah. Or
Whole
Durbin.
buzzard.
I'm
Yeah.
buzzing
Yeah.
for $20 entries.
He's cruising by, taking waypoints. Yeah.
Yeah. Beep beep.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
we don't
But yeah,
see a lot of, like, even in
No.
California, we're not seeing 100 boat tournaments at this point, right? I mean,
No, you're not. But there's a lot more potential to get 100. I mean, shoot, the last pro-am I fished, it was, not in Northern California, was a Wild West in Shasta, and I think there was like 180 boats.
Yeah, I was there.
Like that will not happen here. Like prove me wrong, I dare you. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, I mean, the potential is better to stay in California. I don't blame them for staying in California. I wouldn't come down to Arizona either, but if they do, I'll be there.
The economy on top of everything else. Like, I could see it turning around.
I
But
mean, maybe,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I think money's an excuse. If you wanted to go fish at a high level, you'd go hustle up some extra dollars.
Shots fired.
Think shots fired.
yeah. This is coming from the pooper scooper.
Yeah.
I'll take that dog shit to be there.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I think, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, I think some of the problem you have is just the percentage of anglers. Like, in
That's it.
every area, if you have 100 competitive anglers or 100 guys that like bass fishing, 5% are going to be the ones that are going to like push really hard and get to the net. You know what I mean? I just think that's 5 to 8% of your total angler base are willing to fish pro-ams at the highest level with a lot of risk to it. It's just the nature of the beast. California has the most anglers. If you put a good product out, you get more people to show up. But as you watch an angler base grow, like the Northwest, you expect to see those numbers go up. And we've already had 100 boat pro-am, so we know it can happen. But you're right. It's just the actual density or the amount of anglers you have in an area. So maybe Arizona doesn't have enough anglers to have 100 boat tournaments yet.
Yeah, I mean, we draw
Maybe.
60 to 70. I mean, we have a team circuit here that draws 100. But, it's
So
a
they're
weekend
there.
warrior one. It's the guy, no pros allowed, no guides allowed. So, every time Dick and Harry rolls out there and goes and fishes. But, our serious team events, we get 60 here, no problem. But there's just not a lot of serious guys that want to do it. It's a different breed, I think, that wants to fish at a high level like that.
There's a lot of risk to it, though. You know what I mean? Like, you brought it up. The reason you're not traveling way up north is because the pot isn't big enough. So you're taking a risk where if the pot was bigger and you cashed a bigger check, you're not coming out of it negative if you have a good tournament, right?
Yeah, I'm there. If the dollars are there, I'll go fish anywhere.
Yeah. What were you saying, Beau?
Well, so, Jake, you fished MPFL. Bryant, you're an elite. Like, you guys all have experience, like, fishing the higher level, highest level tournaments. And it seems to me like Mark is trying to create with this Pro Tour the highest level circuit on the West Coast. And right now, the only way that you're feeding that is through Pro-Am qualification. I think that he was only doing invitations this year. That was his plan. And then qualification was going to do it. And so I wonder if it's almost necessary that he has to throw his Pro-Ams out further to create a bigger balance to bring in the, you know, the best of the West or whatever. I don't know what you guys think about it, but, you know, if we end up in a Wild West situation where you get mostly the California guys and that California region where all the density of lakes are, I feel like it needs to be spread out. I think there needs to be Northwest. I think there needs to be Arizona, because it starts to pull the great anglers from all those areas. I don't know what you guys think,
but here's the deal though. If you do an Arizona circuit, look at them now. They don't want to drive to Northern California. I don't think they're going to go.
Yeah, that's just the cost. It's that 5% rule, right? I really do. I think it's guys that are willing, because like we keep talking, like it costs a lot to do this. It's one of when Bryant and I started MPFL, the one thing that drew us into it was paid. Remember, it was guaranteed 10 grand to 44th place, 120 boats, right? So the risk you're taking is, okay, out of $5,000 entry, I can double my money if I have a good turnout. You know, I don't win it, but I'm going to make money to go to the next one. You know what I mean? There's still a risk there, right? If you miss 2 or 3 of them, it costs too much. And like you were saying, I'm not going to go up north because the cost for me to get there, even if I do really well, like there's a balance between what's consistent look like in your checkbook. Like if I cash a check and it doesn't cover my travel expenses, then you're making decisions on if you're going or not, right?
Right. Math ain't mathing.
Math ain't mathing.
Technically speaking.
And Bryant can argue with me all you want, but my biggest, when you start a league, and we saw it in MPFL, the biggest thing, one of the most important thing is angler retention. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but you get this group of guys that get together, hammers that want to fish, and the minute the payouts don't keep guys around, like you do good and you feel like you were pretty competitive and you get a check and it didn't cover your expenses, that's when that middle group, the core group of grinder, that the guys we're talking about, they just slowly dissipate. They don't come back. But they're also the guys that aren't on social media saying that they're upset about stuff. They're just not, you know what I mean? Like, we just didn't go. It didn't pencil. We didn't go. And so then I feel like when leagues struggle and they go away, sometimes that focus on why they went away isn't there. Let me correct me if I'm wrong. MLF, when I first started fishing it, if you cashed a check, you made your money. And then slowly, as the economy and everything changed and the payouts got harder and harder, like you could cash a check and not get your entry fee back. The numbers kept going down, and everyone's like, why is nobody fishing this stuff? Right? But I think it's because a lot of the guys that decided that the pencil, Conrad, James, those kind of guys that decided not show up, are also not on social media going, well, it's because you guys aren't paying very well. You know what I mean?
No.
You disagree?
No, I mean, if you want to keep a large group of anglers, you can't just give the entry fee back to last check. You gotta give them some money to keep them going. Whether that's double your entry fee or, entry fee and $1,000, like give them some money. I'd rather not get a last place check that was just my entry fee back and give it to somebody who beat me and give them the opportunity to go fish another one, then give me last place or last check and just get my money back, because I'm still losing money. You have to give them a little something else to keep them going. It has to, like, the math has the math. Like, you need it, like, ideally, and that's why I think Wild West did so well in the beginning, was their last check was always double your entry fee. Team tournaments, pro-ams, it didn't matter. You always doubled your money at the last check. And I think that's what keeps that core group of guys coming back, because, maybe they don't get a check every time, but when they do get a check, they just paid for, they had the tournament there covered, and they get to pay for the next one off of that check. So, having that money go maybe not as deep, but a little more rich throughout, I think is a really, really good thing. And I think that's how you keep a lot of anglers around. But, there's always going to be there's always going to be excuses. There's always going to be reasons. I think you hit it on the head, Jake, with the economy. I think that doesn't help tournament bass fishing. But, you know, I think Mark has something here with the Pro Tour, and if guys support it, man, I think it could be pretty special to where we're getting those higher entry fees and more payouts.
So I'm going to just call it straight out here. I want to see if I can pull it up here. Hold on a sec. Because I mean, we just got the payout schedule sent out, right? You guys, did you guys see it?
I don't remember exactly what it was.
That was good. Well, let me pull it up. So
pull it up. I was a little confused by it.
I was going to pull it up here on the screen, but I can't. I have to kick us out to do it. You were confused by it? So
yeah, if I remember right, it's 1 and 3, right?
Yeah, it's 1 and 3. Correct. Here, I got
but
right here.
But the numbers weren't 1 and 3 on the payout, if I looked at it right.
So first place obviously is a $50,000 payday. He's paying down 21 places on, what is it, 71 anglers? 70.
Right, so that's not 1 and 3.
So what's 1 and 3?
I don't think 21. He ever said 1 and 3.
Yeah.
I never heard him say 1 and 3.
That's what it was this year. 30 boats, 10 spots.
So he said it was supposed to be a 90% payback, right? Like I knew that part. I don't remember ever hearing the 1 and 3 myself, but I'm not saying you're wrong.
I just always thought it was 1 and 3. So then 21 would be 63 boats would be 1 and 3 on that.
So it's not quite 1 and 4 either, then, is it?
No, it's like 1 and 3.5.
Now that's mathing.
That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff, though, that Derbers like Conrad here pays attention to. Like, he's doing the math on a good tournament versus winning, right?
But hey,
and Brian,
I would go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I want to hear it.
If those checks at the end are higher, kick those last 3-4 spots out. I don't care. Throw an extra $500 to $1,000 up to that 21st guy. I'd rather have that anyway.
So if you place just out of the top 10, so 11th through 20th, you're getting $3,865 back.
That's over
on 2,500.
Right.
Oh no, my math doesn't
and then
very well.
21st. We know Brian's.
Yeah. I'll just not have this conversation. Too many numbers.
No,
involved.
leave that in there.
Too many numbers.
Brian, just call Conrad. And then 21st place gets $2,081. So that's the last payout on that.
Kick that guy out, throw that 2,000 into the other guys. You didn't deserve a check anyway.
Here's the thing, and I get why they do it, and this has been a subject of tons of conversation, and I'm pretty sure it happened to you guys, Brian, in the elites, because I heard rumors, but we have to keep that high first place payout for a lot of reasons. Most of it, though, is marketing. Like, you got to give 50 grand or 100 grand, or what is the elites giving away, 125 or something like that. Everybody's moving that number up so that it looks good to sponsors. We give all this money away. It's a big deal. But the hard part for a lot of us guys that are like in a league, traveling or on tour, is your chances of winning that like maybe once in a year. But if, say, they took 10 grand out of that and it was only 40 grand and you paid deeper into the field, you keep more guys on the road. You know what I mean? I heard that's one of the things that the elite guys were talking about when they made your guys' financial change. Knock it down to 75 grand for first place because that guy's making a killing, but pay down into the field and keep those guys on the road. And Bryant and I saw that in the MPFL. They went to $100,000 first place. And after that first year, I can't remember how it worked out, but so many guys were so close to checks and didn't cash them, they didn't come back the next year. Because, you know what I mean? Like, you had a good tournament, but you didn't cash. And the first place guys, sure, they'll come back. But if you want angler retention and keep your anglers up, you've got to keep them. You know, if you have a good tournament, you should be able to cover your expenses so that you can go to the next one, right? You miss 2 or 3 checks. Sometimes those guys don't come back the next year. So, but like, you think... paying.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Bryant.
What? No.
You said, yeah.
Now I don't remember.
No, you didn't. You didn't remember.
I mean, do you think anybody on this roster would have blinked if 40K was the top prize instead of 50?
Ish.
Well, yeah. But he only fished us to win.
And I think the Ish knows but I think Ish also knows that for us to get the outside sponsorship for it to continue to grow, because that's what you really need for a league to take off, is what Mark has available to him, a media platform and outside sponsorship. And he knows that that's going to attract more outside sponsors and more view because of the big number.
50,000.
I mean, he could try it again next year.
That 50,000 is going to affect 4 people. The checks that get paid from 2nd to 21st, I'm not going to do the math because I'll probably mess it up again.
Don't do that. You only get first place anyway, so what are you worried about?
I mean, like, no, I survive off of those checks. Like, that is what pays the bills. When I win one, it's awesome and it's cool. You know, we get a cushion, but those, hey, I'm not on them very well, but I figured out a way to scrape a check. Those are the ones that keep you going throughout the year, and those are the ones that keep a lot of guys going. So, the big number is nice. Don't get me wrong. I want to fish for $50,000 as many times as I possibly can, but those checks that paid, 2nd to 21st, those are the ones that are the important ones to keep the fields high. And, same thing in the pro-ams. Obviously the winner's going to make a lot of money, but you need to have, if you want people to keep coming back and surviving and wanting to come back, you got to give them some money down the field a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've had a soapbox about it too, because I saw the progression of MPFL. When we first started MPFL, we were going to be paid to 44th place, and so we went in. The second year we went into it, they had lost so many anglers for whatever reasons that what they paid down to like 32 because they had to change something, so they cut like 10 places, and I got like the 33rd and 34th check the whole season. I think I only cashed one, and that was. I think by the end of that year is when they were down to 75 guys, wasn't it? I can't remember how that went, but I remember that being like, I'm 12 ounces away. Those were brutal losses, but
yeah.
So it's important. I think
money in the middle of the field it's what keeps anglers around. The wins are, if you're financially set, that's great. Then you can just go swing for them every time, but there's not a lot of those people, in bass fishing. You got a lot of guys that just want to dream and want to do it, and they'll do anything they can, pick up dog poop to afford it, like whatever they will do. So that money in the middle of the field is the most important thing, I think, to keeping that angler retention high.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of this big stringer thing? Did you guys even see this?
Yeah, Mark said he was gonna. I'd like to vote on Big Stringer. Like, I think it's nice and everything, but I think he pays out pretty healthy down the field. But sometimes I think something like Big Stringer, the guy that wins is probably going to get one of those checks anyway, right? And so, but I guess if you had a good day second and bumped yourself into check range and got that Big Stringer check.
Yeah, or the guy that just completely out of it, after the first day, and he just goes and swings for it the second day, and he doesn't get a check, but he gets the Big Stringer check. Those are nice to fish for too. I think that's what One Bass does really well, is they have a lot of those checks like that. Big fish, 5 places, Big Stringer. They got a lot of different stuff like that where, maybe you're out of it by the 3rd day, but you still got something to fish for.
Secondary money. No.
I don't mind those. I don't mind those at all. I think they're fun.
What do you think, Conrad? You've been quite quiet there. You're trying to keep up with Bryant's math.
Yeah, my head still hurts.
So does mine.
No, I mean, I
had to use my toes and I ran out.
I think you just. I think you get rid of those little option dollars and throw that money in the pot. Personally, pay a big fish for the tournament. Pay a big fish maybe each day, but I don't know. Roll the money into the pot.
Yeah. When you got a full schedule and you're traveling and you're making reservations for places like that, like everywhere you're going to stay and the fuel you're going to spend and all that kind of stuff, cashing a check needs to cover a little. I agree with you, but
if there's $3,800 checks, though, that's a solid check.
Yeah,
you're not going to lose
your money at $2,500.
You're in. You're in. Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I've really held Mark back to, and it's the big thing for me, is payback percentage. And Mark for the Pro Tour is at 90%. He's at 80%. I feel like 80% is probably the lowest mark I would be comfortable with. But if I'm fishing for my own money, that seems pretty important to me. And you find that if it's lower than that, that's when you see the leagues that are kind of, they kind of have I don't know. What do you guys think? What are you guys comfortable? Because it's your own money. You're fishing for your own money. What percentage?
I mean, he's got operating expenses. I think 10%. I would think 10% covers. So I think 90% is a good number. I don't know. I don't see the numbers, but off of basic math, Bryant, 10%
I'm so far lost in this conversation. You're throwing out percentages now.
I mean, I think it'd be nice if, going back to the point of like having that big number to attract sponsors and to attract support. I think over the coming years, I'd love to see that 10% shrink. I mean, if the sponsor support's there and you get the community support on board, and that helps cover a lot of the operational costs of these events, it'd be great to see us be able to, fish for as much of our own money as possible.
Totally.
And I know it's not cheap to do this. I mean, he's bringing a trailer, he's bringing release boat, he's bringing camera boats. He's got a lot of human beings, right? Like,
yep.
He's, creating a production. So there is something to that, but you'd think over the years, he's created a platform for us, but he's also created a platform for himself as well. And you'd hope that could kind of put it into a position where we could start capturing more of our own return.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, is there a lot of, I mean, what's the payback? What's the percentage on the elites? Like, is anybody at the 90+% mark on this
The
level?
elites are well over 100% now, especially.
Way over. Well, yeah,
they
now.
pay
I guess
$4 million
beforehand.
yeah.
Sorry.
Now.
Yeah, that's not fair. Yeah. Yeah.
But even before,
point.
they were really high as well. But, they have a lot of other money-making opportunities with who they are and what they provide. So, I think would be, I mean, this is coming from an angler who obviously we all want to get paid more to go fishing, but I realize there's a big side called the business side that you have to be mindful of. But if we, as a group of anglers, can provide value to Mark's platform where he gets sponsorship dollars coming in, and I should just say, like any tournament organization, if your anglers are providing the organization with content and views and everything, like if people are clicking to watch their anglers, it would be nice to see money come back to the anglers. If they're going to make money off of sponsors because they're watching us, I try not to be, a free show pony. That would be really cool to see. And that might be way down the line with Mark or with anybody, but, seeing some of the sponsor dollars that we're in a roundabout way working for coming back to the anglers, that's always really cool. It kind of goes full circle where, we believe in the tournament organization, we build it up all together, and then we get to kick back down the road.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
it's the smartest thing you've said.
Yeah.
And
Probably
I never.
His brain is now tapped out.
And I didn't say one number that whole time.
Done. I was going to say, we stopped mathing and he got real brilliant.
Right on. Well, if we have to stick to our time limit and Conrad doesn't have any more wisdom to drop, I say we call it. It's probably getting pretty late for you youngsters, right?
Yeah, I'm good. Kid's sleeping. I'm free now.
Well, do you have any other wisdom?
Wisdom.
Something people would want to log in to listen to? I will say, out of all the guests we've had,
Yeah.
you're probably the best. Yeah.
For the second inaugural BassCast.
Second inaugural.
Oh,
I'm truly
Oh,
honored.
Brandon, that.
Brandon will never talk to me again.
Yeah.
Awkward. No, I don't have any wisdom other than that's it. I don't have any wisdom. No.
I thought this was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
this was a great one.
We covered some really neat stuff. Yeah.
For the second inaugural.
Thanks, fellas.
Yep.
Thank you, Conrad.
Yep. No
Yeah,
worries.
thanks for coming on,
fellers.
bud. This was great. Thanks for listening to the Alpha BassCast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and rate us. We'll see you next time.